Alright, it's time to get down to business. It's time to get controversial. You read the title. You already know what we're getting into. The types of people I dislike the most. We're about to get racist. We're about to get sexist. Now, this would be a very long list if I included everyone that I dislike, so I'm just going to be picking my least favorite general archetypes, and I'll go with that. So as I go along, I think you'll begin to get the picture, alright? Before I begin, I'd just like you to know that I agree with, in the words of a very certain individual, the concept of prejudice equality. Everybody is going to get shit on. So, relax, liberal, it's called dark humor or whatever. But anyway, we're going to start off strong with the ladies here, the foids as some might call them. Women, a complex bunch. First on the list, we're going to have to do female English teachers. Controversial choice, but listen, somebody had to say it. Now the thing is with English teachers is, on some occasions, they're the nicest, sweetest people on earth. So in a way, it does sort of pain me to say this and put them here on the list. However, that archetype seems to be the slim minority, because Jesus Christ, why do so many women English teachers absolutely despise their male students? I swear this isn't an isolated thing either. I've had many male friends describe this exact sort of thing happening to them as too, where one of these teachers will just target the male students in the class for literally anything you do, even if that thing is just, existing in that specific classroom and being part of the class. And then, when any of the female students did something out of line or just straight up said men are trash or some sexist generalization, the teacher would encourage it or just ignore it. But, God forbid, if you ever call something like that out as a rude generalization, well then you have to deal with her wrath and also be shamed by the rest of the class for daring to question them. And that was just for questioning them. Can you imagine what it would be like if somebody said the same about a woman? She might as well just shot your ass right there, like that one bitch did with Andy Warhol. But that's not all. A lot of these teachers will also have you reading this weird new age slop literature that has a lot of these same sorts of biases as the teachers themselves had. So you could kind of see where they got these ideas from. And honestly, I think being forced to read that type of stuff, the super unengaging shit to a male audience, is part of the reason why there's this stereotype that men don't really read as much as, or that men don't read and that so many men are put off from reading in general. That's just a bit of a theory I have. I don't have any evidence for it other than anecdotal stuff, but the only reason I even enjoy reading nowadays is because right at the end of my time as a student, I had one fantastic English teacher who introduced me to actual fantastic literature. They really do call them the classics for a reason, and they're actually good, Shocked me. So yeah, shout out to my senior year English teacher. She was the goat. The rest of them can get pregnant during the middle of the school year from having an affair with the gym teacher or SRO officer and then getting replaced by a substitute who does nothing all year. And then said English teacher having a public crash out that her husband wanted to get a divorce. Actually, the worst. Yeah, that did happen. And side note, why does that happen so much to the point where it's such a meme? We really can't have one single unique experience in this world, can we? Anyway, next up we have a good one, and I think everyone can get behind it. HR women. Now this, unlike the English teacher, I don't think anyone has had a single good experience dealing with a lady from HR. The second you sit down in that room, she looks at you like this, it's just over right there and then. If you actually somehow manage to get an interview in the first place in today's day and age, first of all, ow. But then you have to somehow go an entire interview pretending to be normal and not autistic in the slightest bit. And if she catches one whiff of that tism, it's over for you, little bro. Just pack it up. And then, if you already have the job somehow, and you get that dreaded out of the blue private meeting, then it's really over. And you're about to get the most condescending shit you've ever heard thrown your way. All with this fucking smile on their face, Just thinking about it has me ready to break out into a goddamn cold sweat, alright? And I know this is technically a job that can be filled by men too. When the fuck have you ever seen a male HR employee? Yeah, I literally have never seen that. This one is really just one of those adult daycare fake-ass jobs that's the bane of modern existence. You know, I think I'd rather eat fiberglass insulation than have to deal with an HR lady any day of the week, dude. These people are like energy-draining succubi to deal with. Poisoning of the soul occurs anytime you have to talk to one of these bitches. And I straight up refuse to believe anyone working in HR isn't at least somewhat sociopathic. Most are just flat out are. And this one really grinds my gears, as you might have been able to tell, and I really try and avoid sweeping generalizations whenever possible. But fuck HR. To be honest, a lot of these people just feel like they are corporate versions of the aforementioned English teacher archetype I just described before, with all the misandry and none of the redeeming bits. Absolutely no inspiration to be found here, just wasteland. It just sucks. And the term itself, you know, human resources. It's just like nasty. It implies that we're only resources to be exploited as the higher ups see fit. And that's all we'll ever be to them. Resources. Yeah. I could go on, but I'm done talking about this one, at least for now. My blood pressure can only go so high. Now, you know, the next thing I wrote down was just woke liberals. And by that, I don't mean just people with progressive ideology. In many cases, I agree with these viewpoints. However, there is a certain sect of women on Twitter, and other places, but mainly Twitter, that try to have competition of who can be the most annoying and unsufferable person imaginable by policing anything people do or say and trying to turn it into some sort of huge issue under the guise of being progressive. Now, this is a bit more difficult to discuss. I feel like there's a bit more nuance that I'm trying to maintain here for the sake of not coming across as one of those anti-woke owned, the liberal got owned type of people, which, huge coincidence, I also happen to dislike very much, but I'll get to that some other time. I think both of these can lead to people believing in some pretty wacky and kooky ideas, right? The problem with these types of Twitter women is that they cannot seem to comprehend any of the bigger issues at play and have decided to focus on the absolute minutiae of politics to feel like they're accomplishing something. And on top of that, they have no sense of humor. So everything they hear, they take extremely literally. And it's just walking on eggshells throughout any interaction. And I'm not just talking about racism disguised as dark humor or some shit. It's just the most innocuous shit ever. You could say something about liking a video game, a very neutral statement, and these type of people would jump out of the woodworks to find anything they can to call it problematic, call you sexist or a Nazi for liking it, and demand you sacrifice your firstborn as an apology or something. Like, get it together. Get it together, guys. Billionaires and politicians are satanic pedophiles who want to turn us all into fucking Argent energy from doom by capturing our souls and torturing them for eternity. No matter where you fall on the political spectrum, can we come together and agree on that before ripping each other apart for dumbass reasons? I guess this isn't an exclusively female thing, right? But it certainly feels like the majority. Only a mass of women could hold this level of spite. Oh, and if you thought I was just going to go after those to the left, you're dead wrong though, buddy. Because next up we have those conservative trad wife influencers that LARP is being all traditional and stuff to their audience of horny middle-aged men whose wife left them because they thought washing their ass was gay or something. I don't really know. But this, just like with those Twitter women above, feels so painfully performative and forced because it usually is just more conservative propaganda, along with sometimes just being straight up gooner bait. And listen, I get it. There's nothing inherently wrong with living like that, if that's the way you actually want to live or whatever. But this, in reality, is just one massive LARP. I mean, there's no way anyone but a small minority of women can even live like this anymore. You have to already have money or some sort of audience or both to live like this. And that's not to mention that these people probably don't even do most of the stuff they show in their daily lives anyway. I know damn well they have helpers behind the scenes, but I suppose it's a good way to make money off their people who watch Fox News or whatever. But come on, if you're gonna LARP as a 1950s housewife and not at least do some meth and get beat by your husband, it sounds like you just aren't committed to the bit. And there's nothing more lame than refusing an opportunity to take drugs, am I right? Now that any of the women watching this video, having well since clicked off and disliked, are gone, I can make sure the other half of my viewership is gone too. Yeah, I'm coming after the fellas. First off, we got the guy in his truck with the Oakley sunglasses on as his Facebook profile picture. You know the type of guys. Anytime you see this, you know you're about to be in for one of the most retarded bootlicking takes you've ever heard. The usual suspect is a balding middle-aged white guy with a terrible-looking beard and a body fat percentage reaching into room temperature digits. It's almost fascinating how many of these guys will show up when they hear the word woke or liberal or any other of the buzzwords referring to something that will literally never affect them, just to get mad at it in any way and mention either Ronald Reagan, Donald Trump, or Israel or something about back in my day for some reason. These guys really have an obsession with drinking out of the water hose and going to the school of hard knocks for some reason. I'm just going to assume this is the effects of lead poisoning rearing their ugly heads again and causing total boomer brain function collapse. TBBFC for short. It really is astounding how they all look and sound the same too. I mean, if you've heard one of these guys talk, you've heard all of them talk, right? They often genuinely think that they're part of this conservative in crowd and that sucking off any politician or billionaire as long as it owns the liberals is going to award them favor. Personally, I think this is a coping mechanism to deal with the fact that their wife either left or divorced them or is extremely resentful of them, and their kids don't even want to talk to them voluntarily either. So feeling like they're part of a group keeps their mental sanity on by a thread as they watch anything meaningful they once had in their life fade away slowly. Like, these guys' takes are so bad you usually have to question whether or not they're just a rage bait bot. But the scary thing is, a lot of the time it is a real person, and you know they're real because you've come into contact with these people before. And conclusion about these guys, there really is something unique about the human capacity to be stupid that a bot or AI just can't replicate. Honestly, it's pretty impressive. Moving on. Next up, we have people who take looks maxing way too far and way too seriously. Now look, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with looks maxing, if I'm being honest. Wanting to look your best and improve yourself is great and all, but at a certain point, past just exercise, grooming, and style, it seems like you'll just start to see some pretty severe diminishing returns. Like, past that point, bro, you just have it or you don't in the looks department. So that's why you shouldn't put all of your stock into looking good. And I'm under no illusion that looks don't matter. I mean, it should be obvious that they do. However, if you're genuinely listening to some of these guys who are telling you to buy their fucking de-bloating supplement and eat raw meat or whatever, then you just might be retarded. Dude, I'm sorry. But it's not like I don't know where the people who listen to this stuff are coming from. Of course I do. Do you really think I would be VTubing if I didn't have some insecurity? The problem with most of these guys who are influencers in the space is that they can so easily take something that has bits of truth in it and just twist it and sell some bullshit scam product to their audience of usually young, impressionable guys. I think more so than just the idea of looks maxing, I dislike the predatory and scammy nature of it all. It's just built up around natural human insecurity. Just like in the traditional beauty industry, it's one thing to want to look your best or improve yourself, and it's another to feel pressured into buying some random shit or doing some weird lifestyle change because you think it'll solve whatever you're going through right now. And you know, all this is just a symptom of the modern dating landscape and whatnot. Everyone has to be exceptional in some way just to get the bare minimum results and what they're looking for since standards are so high. I mean, it sucks pretty bad that this is the situation we find ourselves in, especially since this was like never the case historically. So this is pretty unprecedented. I don't know where it'll go from here. However, never doom. Don't let these guys trick you into thinking it's over for you. It's not. In conclusion, I hate scammers of all sorts, but those that prey off things people feel most vulnerable about definitely are cut above in scumminess. Overall, the guys who push this stuff too hard just suck. I could go on about the other stuff I dislike, but I still have 2 more categories to go. Next, we have dudes willing to crash out over anything now. I'm not sure if this is just a me problem. As of late, it seems that there's been a lot more random guys who are just looking for any reason at all to be mad at you, either for completely mundane reasons or sometimes just no reason at all. Like, you ever just make eye contact for a split second with some dude by accident and then immediately regret it once they start moving in your direction? Like, generally never a good sign when that happens, especially if you're in an area where there's no escape, like on a bus or at work. Now, I'm not trying to say if somebody just looks at you and walks to talk to you that they have bad intentions or whatever, but anyone who's been in this sort of scenario knows the type of look I'm talking about. It's difficult for me to describe, but you know this guy just wants to start trouble with you. You know, this usually happens when you make some minor mistake or something, and to one of these guys with a massive ego, you better look out, because you've just personally insulted them with your intentional act of malice against them, apparently. Now, usually they'll just leave it at verbal harassment, but sometimes that's not enough, and then they act like they're gonna fight you or some shit. But even worse than just interacting with one of these dudes in the wild is having the unfortunate experience of being friends with a crash out. Now, this is always the worst. If you're in a situation with someone who gets extremely rage-filled at any tiny little thing that might go wrong or any perceived offense, like you could be on a crowded space and somebody could brush against the shoulder, and instead of being a simple mistake, this guy's about to make it everybody else's problem because the word sorry isn't in his limited vocabulary. Now, I get that some women can be like this too, but I think when a guy is this way, it's way worse since the risk of physical violence seems to rise exponentially. Like, I'm sorry you can't contain your ego for like 5 seconds, bro. Overall, these guys are just another reason why I don't leave the house anymore. Who am I kidding? I never left the house to begin with. Next, we have billionaires. Yeah, I mean, this should be pretty obvious, and yeah, I know this is technically not gender specific, but it's like 90% crusty old dudes, so I'm counting it anyway. I don't care. I mean, do I even have to explain at this point? I mean, I have nothing original to say here that hasn't been said already, just like in the rest of this video. But I do have one more bonus category, that being these guys who just sit there and complain about other people online. Like, realistically, this doesn't even matter all that much. Like, you think you're that much better than everyone else, bro. And on top of that, they're too scared to show their own face. So you just know they're chopped.
Listen. I'm talking. Listen.
Get the fuck off my property!
We're
And I mean now!
leaving.
Move it!
We're